Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. To continue our Midway week, we've got another Monogram model, the Devastator TBD-1. This is a pretty popular kit, one of a new wave of kits that Monogram was making in the 70s that really kicked up their detail and quality up several notches, I think. This included, the B-17 and B-24, a B-26, a P-61 Black Widow, a number of aircraft that really started to show some quality in their manufacture, some good detail, really nice kits. So let's talk about this one here. The TBD Devastator was first flown in 1935, April 15th, entered service in 1937. At the time, it was the first monoplane all-metal aircraft for the United States Navy, and was a really modern aircraft when it first went into service. Unfortunately, the progress of aircraft in the late 30s, was moving rapidly with increasing in horsepower, increasing in understandings of aerodynamics, and the TBD Devastator was completely outdated by the time the U.S. entered the war in 1941. Planned replacement was already in production with the TBF Avenger. Unfortunately, they had not made it to the squadrons by the time of Pearl Harbor, so the TBD had to kind of soldier on a little longer than it needed to. A lot of other aircraft from this kind of time period suffered similar types of fates, such as the Ferry Battle, the Bristol Blenheim, some of the fighters such as Brewster Buffalo. Those aircraft, when they were first introduced, were really advanced aircraft, but were just hanging around just a little too long and ended up paying the price for it later on. So with this kit, this is one of Monogram's photograph cover boxes. So part of the 70s Truth in Advertising. No longer were they doing spectacular box art. They were going with photographs to show you exactly what you were getting. So we've got carrier-based Douglas torpedo bomber, 48 scale. It's also written in French here. And it looks like you get 3 crewmen being shown here. This is the 1974 issue, and first time that it came out. So on the side here, we do have some additional photographs of the model. Another one here, a little blurb about the information on the Devastator itself. A little bit of legal stuff here. On the end, similar photograph, same information, kit number 7575. And on the opposite end, same thing. So we've got the instructions, in copyrighted 1974. A lot more information about the TBD. Some building warnings, stuff to do about building your kit. And as was typical of Monogram in this era, very good step-by-step instructions with minimal amount of things for each step. They also were calling out all the paint colors. This was a nice early kit that included a lot of the interior detail. Of course, not anywhere near as nice as what you see in some of the modern kits right now. But back in 1974, this was pretty advanced, especially for a 48 scale kit. They were mentioning different part swaps depending on which model you were trying to make, whether it was a bomb carrying version or a torpedo version. You could have your landing gear, different positions. Wing folding was also included. It wasn't just an open hole. They actually had some of the interior parts, separate flaps, bombardiers doors, multi-piece engine, little wing step, open panels that you could display. There's your gun assembly, different canopies, and so you could have it in the closed or open, and your horizontal stabilizers. Now this kit here, this particular kit, does not have the decals. They got lost over time, but this was issued with 3 different sets of decals. One for VT8 and wartime markings, VT6 and what they call combat zone markings, and VT2 and pre-war markings. So your VT2 is going to be this one and this one and this one. That's your VT2 group. And then your VT8 would have been this one, and this underwing. And then your VT6 was this one here. I did look up the decals that came with it, and the decals are a little bit off. For example, the one here for VT2, this aircraft, was a real aircraft, VT2, the 2T1, but the decals that come with it are for 0200 as a bureau number, and this actually had a bureau number of 0300. And VT2 was assigned to a Lexington. The VT squadron number matched the carrier number. So CV2 was the Lexington. So they had torpedo 2, bombing 2, fighting 2. So the torpedo squadron was torpedo 2. So this was the squadron commander's aircraft, being 2T1. This stayed with the Lexington throughout its career, and ultimately was lost when the Lexington was sunk at the Battle of Coral Sea. The next one, VT6. The VT6 kit comes with bureau number, the decals are listed as bureau number 0308, which was delivered originally to VT2 as well as 2T13. It ultimately was lost with VT8 at the Battle of Midway, and it was coded as a T5 at the time, and it may have served with VT6 at one point. There was a lot of swapping of TBDs from squadrons all around, so a lot of these, even though there was only, I think, 130 total TBDs produced, a lot of these ended up spending time with almost every single squadron that had TBDs. And then finally, the other one that's listed here is the VT8, this one here. They're showing it as 8T1, and with a bureau number of 0338. That bureau number was actually delivered to VT5 and flew as 5T2. Ended up going to VT6. Flew at the Battle of Midway as T11. Was damaged so bad that it was listed as being stricken off charge, or was listed as unserviceable, I should say, and then was ultimately finally stricken off charge in October of 43. So it did not serve with VT8. In fact, this AT1 was actually assigned at the Battle of Midway, was actually assigned to one of the TBF Avengers that were on Midway Island as part of the detachment from VT8. That didn't get there in time to be on the carrier, but then flew up from Pearl Harbor up to Midway for the battle, and the 6-plane detachment went out. They were actually one of the first groups to actually attack the Japanese surface force, and 5 of those 6 were shot down, one barely limping back with a dead gunner. A lot of the equipment was knocked out on it. So I'm going to show you some pictures that are as close as I could find to matching what the decals are supposed to be in the kit. And we can take a look at that. Okay, we'll take a look at the kit now. Here we've got the clear pieces. They're pretty well done. There's a little bit of distortion to them, but they're fairly thin. They've got some nice level of raised panel lines, not too thick and heavy, but thick enough that you could paint them nicely. You've got some of the smaller, like the bombardier's window that goes on the bottom, the little side windows here. But it's broken up into different parts, that way you can build it as open or closed. You do have the front windscreen, which does have a hole for the torpedo, or the gun sight, I should say. So that's those. Pretty nicely done. And then here we have the main kit. It's still in its original sealed bag, so this is going to be the first time this is being opened. So be prepared to get a whiff of 1974 air. Oh, there it is. Smells like incense and flowers. Good old 1974. Okay, so here we have our first tree, which is the main fuselage. Panel lines are raised, but there are a lot of scribed areas. You have this the open sections here, so you can find detail. Inside there'd be where your 30 caliber gun would go. And nice that they showed the actual wing rib that would have gone here, where the wing can attaches to the fuselage. Very subtle representation of the fabric surface on there. It's kind of nice. And the wings were reinforced with kind of a corrugated style. They've represented that with some fine lines. Not overly done. Some pretty nice access panels are represented. Here's the inside. Some cockpit detailing. It's pretty nice for this era of kit. You have second tree. We've got the outer wings. In continuation of that corrugated surface. You got your wheels. Your engine. It's nice that it is in two parts. And some interior cockpit pieces. So overall, pretty nicely done. And this little mini tree here that's got, looks like the parts where the wing fold would be. Your 30 caliber guns, which are pretty nicely made. Not bad for this era. There's a seat for the rear gunner. It's like part of the floor. A little bit of flash here and there on it, not too terribly bad. Oops. We got the torpedo. Some more cockpit parts. There's your tail surfaces. Backside of the propeller. Landing gear, which is nice. It's actually got some of the hydraulic lines already on there. Flip it over and look at this. So there's your instrument panel. control column. And rudder pedals, it looks like. There's your propeller. Again, pretty nicely done. Some more of the cockpit details. Other side of the wing fold areas. Headrest. Your bonds. Well, I think those are some of those braces or struts for the wing fold. And then you've got these crewmen, which I think are really nicely done. Got the guy cranking it up. Got your pilot. You can even see he's got a little survival knife and a 45. He's even got the correct early style Midway that wraps around. And another deck crewman. So pretty nicely done. Do you have a loose part here with the pilot seat? Got some detail even on that. Yeah, it looks like there's even a buckle on there too. Seatbelt and buckle. And here's the center line of the wing. And strangely, they've got the Monogram Models Inc. with the copyright stamped on it. So even as late as '74, they're still putting their copyright marks on the exterior of the aircraft to try to avoid them being duplicated. So that's about it. Overall, a really nice kit. I remember as a kid seeing some Monogram brochure that they'd hired one of the premier diorama aircraft builders in the day who did a number of how to build a diorama with utilizing Monogram kits. And I remember him doing one of the TBD Devastator that had been downed in the ocean, so it was kind of half sunk. The pilot was helping out a wounded gunner. Thought that was a pretty neat little diorama that he had made with that. So this kit surprisingly wasn't issued that often, but it has proven pretty popular over the years. For a long time, this was the only game in town for decent TBD Devastator. It was released in '76, also as a joint venture with Bandai. It was reissued by Monogram in '79 and then again in '99. And also in '99, it was done as a joint release with Hasegawa again, as we saw with the SBD. This one, at least, a Hasegawa buyer would have gotten a pretty decent kit as compared to the SBD. They did a second issue with different markings in 2000 with Hasegawa, and then finally Revell issued this one last time under just the Revell banner in 2003. So it is a commemoration of the Midway week. A little bit of info for the TBD. There was a total of 41 TBDs that were launched by the 3 aircraft carriers at Midway, the Hornet, Enterprise, and Yorktown. Out of those 41, of course, Torpedo 8, which is really famous for being completely wiped out with only one surviving crew of Ensign Gay, without scoring a single hit. In fact, it's questionable whether they may have even dropped a torpedo, let alone got a hit. The other 2 squadrons from Enterprise and Yorktown, of them, Enterprise's squadron, VT6, only 4 came back from their attack. And Yorktown, which was actually had VT3 on board with them, only 2 of those aircraft came back from that mission. So that was the last combat mission for the TBD. Well, I take that back. They did fly, a couple of the survivors did fly one of the attacks on June 6th against the Japanese cruisers that had run into each other and were kind of straggling behind the retreating Japanese forces. So a couple of TBDs did go out on that final attempt at sinking those ships. And that was it. They were pulled back out of squadron service. The Avenger was already on its way, as I mentioned before. There was already a detachment for VT8 with Avengers, so this aircraft was immediately replaced by Avengers and ended up going into training squadrons where they didn't last very long. They were fine. The last one was finally struck off charge in I think it was 1944, and currently, right now, there are no surviving TBDs to be seen anywhere. There has been a number of them found on some sunken ships. So there's a few of them on the Lexington, when they found the Lexington a few years ago. There's some actually pretty well preserved Devastators on the Lexington or just right around it. There are a couple that were found in the atoll on Kwajalein, and there was also one that was found out in the Atlantic somewhere. The exact location is a closely guarded secret. There for a number of years there was a fight over who could try to raise it and restore it. Navy, laid claim on it and didn't want anybody touching it, but the Navy wasn't doing anything to try to preserve it. But currently, right now, there are no actual TBDs to be seen anywhere. There was a mock-up that was made for the wonderful movie Midway a couple of years ago. That mock-up, which looks pretty good actually, can be seen on the USS Midway down in San Diego as part of their museum for the USS Midway. And it's not a bad mock-up. It actually looks pretty good, so you can get kind of a sense of what the plane was like. It's actually a much bigger plane than most people think. A fairly large aircraft for a single engine. So that's about it. If you've made this kit, let us know in the comments section. If you have this kit still in your collection, built one, take some pictures of it, send it in, or a little video clip of it even. Send it in to us. The email address is in the description section for the channel, and that is celebratingvintagemodel-kits@gmail.com. So much appreciated if you send that in. We're putting together another viewer build video, so the more we can get, the better it'll be. And that's about it. So thanks for watching, and have yourselves a great rest of your day.